If you saw me on the street, would you think that I was homeless? No.
Yeah, I work. I don't do drugs. I don't do alcohol. I go to work. I just don't have a home.
The American dream has always promised something simple: a better life, a home of your own, a steady job, a bright future. In the US, society is divided into social classes, but the middle class has long been seen as the backbone of the nation. Yet today, that backbone is bending under pressure. More than half of Americans who identify as middle class are living paycheck to paycheck. That means they don't have enough savings to cover a sudden emergency, like losing a job or a surprise medical bill. It's a fragile kind of stability, one that can collapse with just one wrong turn. So how far is the distance between a cozy couch in the living room and the hard floor of a tent on the streets? Closer than we think. America's middle class typically earns between $50,000 and $150,000 a year. On paper, that should be enough for a comfortable life. But in reality, many are walking a financial tightrope, caught in the grind of paycheck to paycheck living. The rising cost of living is the biggest culprit. Rents are climbing, health insurance premiums are growing, childcare and education are expensive, and grocery bills keep ticking up. These everyday costs eat up most of their income, leaving little room for savings. And the numbers tell the story. A recent survey found that only about 41% of US adults have enough savings to handle a $1,000 emergency. Over a third actually owe more on credit cards than they have in savings. So when even a small crisis hits, a car repair, a medical bill, it can quickly spiral into financial disaster. The truth is, the American middle class may look stable from the outside, but under the surface, millions are just one missed paycheck away from falling into poverty. One slip, and the dream becomes a nightmare. As we begin to understand how financially fragile the middle class truly is, one trend has become more visible: being house poor. This is when someone owns a house, but the mortgage, property taxes, and upkeep are so expensive, there's barely anything left for anything else. A single unexpected event, like losing a job or facing medical bills, can quickly turn into a foreclosure nightmare. According to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition, millions of American families face the risk of losing their homes every year. But what often goes unnoticed is a quiet reality. Families living in cars or RVs on the outskirts of town, far from the public eye. They're not begging on the streets, they're still working. They still take their kids to school, but their income simply can't keep up with the cost of living. It's a hidden struggle behind the doors of homes that still look picture perfect from the outside.
If you saw me on the street, would you think that I was homeless? No. I'm clean, I shower, I work, I go to school, I take care of, my life the best I can. I just live in a car.
And behind their ability to keep going, there's another side, quieter and far more painful. It's not just about losing a place to sleep. It's about losing a sense of dignity. It's about losing the right to feel like you still belong in society. This is where silence starts to creep in. Imagine working people who've lost their homes, but not their jobs. They rarely show up in homelessness statistics because they don't sleep in shelters or receive government aid. Instead, they sleep in cars. They crash on relatives' couches. They rent cheap motel rooms one day at a time. They're part of a hidden middle class, slipping through the cracks, quiet, invisible, and overlooked. Why don't they ask for help? It's not just about access. It's about shame and denial. Homelessness is still seen by many as a personal failure, not a system failure. The fear of being judged, of losing custody of their children, keeps many silent. A report by Invisible People found that many full-time workers sleep in their vehicles because, in their words, not looking homeless helps them keep their dignity. One middle-aged cashier quietly said, "I still have a paycheck, but I don't have an address." Behind store counters and neighborhood fences, there's a silence that can't be graphed. But it's real, it's deep, and it's growing.
Yeah, I have a full-time job. I actually put in a 14-hour shift yesterday, worked a double shift. Yeah, I work. I don't do drugs. I don't do alcohol. I go to work. I just don't have a home.
The quiet struggles of the middle-class homeless point to something bigger. Experts say our social safety net isn't ready. Most government aid and shelter programs were designed for chronic homelessness, people who've lived on the streets for years, often battling mental illness or addiction. But this new wave looks very different. They're working, some even full-time. They have families. They were recently housed. But all it took was a layoff, a medical emergency, or an unpayable rent hike, and they lost it all. Unfortunately, the system isn't adapting fast enough. Many don't know where to turn. They don't have time to learn the process, or they don't qualify under outdated rules. Programs like The Way Home have made real progress reducing chronic homelessness, but they haven't fully reached those newly at risk. When help doesn't arrive in time, a personal crisis can quietly become a social disaster.
We did one night at the rescue mission. That was terrifying for my daughter. And I just felt like I would rather sleep in my car because I feel safe in my car than sleep in one of these places. I don't have any other option.
If our social system can't keep up with a rapidly changing reality, then we need to rethink how we respond to this crisis. Not just patchwork fixes, but a shift in mindset. Because this isn't just about numbers, it's about people. People who were once considered safe. Middle-class families now slipping through the cracks. The first step? Expand the safety net. Right now, too many programs only help those who've lost everything. But what about those who just fell or are about to fall? People who still have jobs, still send their kids to school, but now live in cars? They need support, not red tape. We also need better financial education. Not just basic budgeting advice, but real life skills on risk, debt, and resilience, starting from a young age. Still, it all comes back to one root issue: housing. We need policies that protect people, not punish them. Rent control, affordable housing investments, and tenant protections that actually work. And above all, we need collective empathy. Because homelessness isn't just about personal failure. It's about a system that lets too many people fall alone. In today's America, one unpaid bill can change your entire life. For the middle class, the line between comfort and collapse is thinner than ever. The home, once a symbol of safety, can vanish overnight. And that's when the harsh reality begins. So let's ask ourselves, what does it really mean to feel secure in a country as wealthy as the United States? If the comfort we rely on can crumble so fast, are we truly safe, or are we just living in a fragile illusion? In the end, the stories of those on the edge of homelessness are a mirror for all of us. A reminder that financial security isn't just about savings, it's about fair systems, and about us caring for one another as human beings.